Coming up on this hour, Chris 6 Sunrise, tensions are high in Kingsville after Tuesday's commissioners meeting. Neighborhood News reporter Tyrese Boone, he's going to have a full breakdown of exactly what happened.
And two of the busiest fire stations in town are getting updated. We have a look at which ones they are and just how much it will cost the city. Plus,
27 fraud charges against one woman. I'm Adam Beam, breaking down those charges and the warning signs you need to look for.
good morning, folks. Welcome to Chris 6 Sunrise. Thank you so much for waking up with the Hoffmans. I'm Michelle Hoffman.
And I'm Brian Hoffman. Oh, we are booging on through this week, already halfway over. Seems to be steaming on through. But hey, before we get too far into it, let's check on in with our meteorologist, Stephen Jones, standing by. How you doing, Stephen?
Good morning.
Oh, good morning. Doing pretty great, you guys. How are y'all this morning?
Fantastic,
yeah,
brother.
doing great.
Oh, there you go. I mean, we're officially halfway through the month. Y'all are already ready, set up, decorated for Halloween and everything, or are y'all big Halloween decorators?
Inside.
Kinda, yeah. We're still collecting though, and I hear it takes years.
Oh yeah, no, I bet you just you get some, you put them in the box, you bring them out the next year. That's the best way to save some money though, honestly.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, but I mean, looking at some of the traffic this morning out there, not too bad. Starting off our Wednesday morning, good and green across most of the map. Let's get a more in-depth look there at the Harbor Bridge to and from Portland this morning, looking good and green, whichever way you're going. Of course, here closer to Corpus Christi, some of our major roadways sitting on Ocean Drive, nothing too major to report right now. Along SPID, nice and green if you're heading out the door, as well as on down south towards Saratoga right now. Of course, if you're looking at the Crosstown Expressway, also good and green. So not a lot of traffic too much. We normally don't see too much in that 5 a.m. hour. So hopefully, or not hopefully, but as we go towards that 6:30, 7 a.m. time frame, might see those roadways pick up just a little bit. Here's a look over towards Flower Bluff. We do have some minor slowdowns to report on Flower Bluff Drive over there. You can see some of that yellow. So luckily, it's not too bad right now, as well as you're approaching the Naval Air Station, just that normal slowdown that we see every morning. Of course, some of those drive times for you, looking at 21 minutes from downtown to the island, 8 minutes from Portland to downtown. From Cal Allen to downtown should take you about 15 minutes or so. So wherever you're going to, wherever you're coming from, looking good and green if you're heading out the door this morning. Of course, don't go anywhere. We'll have more news and weather heading your way.
Mr. Jones, thank you so much for that. Appreciate it. So, folks, we're going to check back in with him in just a little bit. First, we had the Kingsville, right? So, Kingsville Judge Jack Pulcher, he's ruled in favor of a recall petition that targets 3 Kingsville city commissioners. As we've reported, a lawsuit filed by a Kingsville neighbor asks for a recall election to remove city commissioners Norma Nelda Alvarez, Leo Alarcon, and Hector Hinojosa. The city asked for a court hearing to determine if that petition was actually valid. After hearing testimony from both sides, Judge Pulcher ruled that the recall election can proceed. The attorney for the city and 3 commissioners says that they will appeal this ruling, though. They have 10 days to file that appeal.
It was a full house at Tuesday's Kingsville City Commission, with neighbors in attendance to see and speak on the future of interim city manager Charlie Sosa. Some gave praise, while others brought up concerns. Chris 6 News has done numerous reports regarding Charlie Sosa. Just as he was going to be appointed in September, concerns came up for dumping limestone on property in 2016. With his future in the balance, city commissioners had one job left: to vote. With a 3-2 vote by the commissioners, the item to rescind his contract offer was denied, which led to discussions about executing his employment contract. In another 3-2 vote, the decision, leaving Commissioner Edna Lopez with doubts of the commission going forward.
I truly believe that what was done here is not to the best of the city, and Kingsville has a problem.
10 charges of credit and debit card abuse, 3 charges of exploitation of a child, elderly, or disabled person are among the 18 new charges putting Marema Montano back in custody. When we first reported on Montano, she was accused of stealing over $26,000 from 2 patients at group homes she operated. Now, indictments obtained by Chris 6 News say Montano allegedly exploited 5 elderly individuals between November 2019 and February of this year. I thought it was important to understand the warning signs for older residents.
Exploitation of the elderly is one of the least reported offenses. If you suspect that somebody is being exploited, let us know about it. We can't begin to help somebody unless we know that they need that help to begin with.
And that was Adam Beam reporting. So the City Council has given the go-ahead for 2 fire station replacement projects we told you about. One of the fire stations getting a new home will be station number 10. Right now that fire station is on Horn and Greenwood on the city's west side. The new building will be built further down Horn Road between the National Guard building and the current fire station. Construction is expected to begin in November and will wrap up in about a year. And fire station number 8, which is currently on Castoris Road near Sunnybrook, is also getting a replacement building. The new building will be located on Castoris and McArdle, and work on that new fire station will also begin in November. It will take a year to complete as well, and the current fire station number 8 is 70 years old.
Well, waking up on Wednesday and looking at our USS Lexington, Cam, thanks to First Community Bank. 66 degrees out there right now. Winds out of the north-northwest, 6 miles an hour. Traffic flowing nice and free there along the new Harbor Bridge, you can see. And of course, getting a good look at how our Tuesday stacked up. 88 degrees for that daytime high, although the morning low was a little warm, 74 above that average of 66 where we're supposed to be. The record 51 back in 1955, but we did pick up 1/100 of an inch of rain as we went through our Tuesday, so the tiniest dent in that 9.9 inches we still need of rain to make up for 2025, at least where we've been so far. So still some work to do on the rain front. Of course, current temperatures in your neighborhood sitting in a lot of 60s for most of us. 75 there, the warm spot in Port Aransas, 73 over at the Naval Air Station, 65 in Kingsville, 64 up in Beeville, going to be that cool spot. Here in Corpus Christi, sitting around 66 degrees, winds mostly calm, roughly out of the north-northwest, about 5 miles an hour for a few of us, and visibility also looking pretty good as we enter that 6 a.m. hour. Of course, as we're going through our Wednesday, might think it's time to take the pup for a walk. Here is Zoe in the car, ready to go for a walk out there, maybe heading to one of the parks around town or even along the bay there, I should say. Temperature-wise, shaping up for you, 75 by 9 a.m., 82 for 11, and then 84 as we're entering that lunch hour. Winds pretty light out of the north and east from 5 miles an hour this morning towards lunch, pushing closer to about 10 miles an hour as we head towards that lunchtime time frame. Feels like temperatures, though, are going to drive up just a little bit thanks to the dew points. Still sitting in the 60s is what we've got right now around the region. A couple of 70s out there, in fact. But for here in Corpus Christi, feels like temperature is going to push up to about 91 degrees for that daytime high. The real temperature, probably about 89 degrees or so. So not too far off, luckily. At least it's not going to be feeling like the triple digits as we head through our Wednesday. But through the next 10 days, going to be sitting with above average temperatures just about the entire 10 days. You can see the weakest cold front we have there on Sunday drops us just a little bit. But then next week by Wednesday time frame, maybe we'll see another disturbance does look to move in. That could drop temperatures just a little bit, bringing more rain to the area as well. And like we talked about just a little bit ago, 9.9 inches still to go to make up so far for 2025. So hopefully that does bring some rain back to the region. Unfortunately, not on the 7-day forecast as of right now, but temperature-wise going to slowly go up through those 80s to the lower 90s, even more above average. Overnight lows holding in those 70s with that weak cold front on Sunday, bringing us from 74 back down to 70 degrees.
I'm Joe St. George at the Supreme Court. A potentially landmark case is being heard Wednesday that could possibly overturn parts of the Voting Rights Act. We explain the case and the possible impacts next.
Hey, welcome back everyone. 6:11 this Wednesday morning. You're getting a live look right now from our SPID Skycam with traffic flowing pretty smoothly this morning. 66 degrees outside as well. Of course, we will check in with meteorologist Stephen Jones to see how the rest of the day is shaping up for your weather forecast. But first, we have some national headlines to get to.
That's right. Happening today, the Supreme Court will hear a case that legal experts say could upend the Voting Rights Act and the role that race plays in drawing congressional maps. The case is out of Louisiana, but as our Joe St. George explains, the impacts could be felt across the country, including potentially right here in our state, where maps were just redrawn to give Republicans more seats in the House.
Should race play a role in the drawing of congressional maps? Some say yes, to ensure that minority groups have representation. Others say no, and that race shouldn't play any part of it. Well, it's a central question before the Supreme Court on Wednesday, and the outcome could potentially overturn parts of the landmark Voting Rights Act. Wednesday's case is officially called Louisiana v. Calais, and it's based on Louisiana's recent redistricting process. In 2022, lawmakers drew a congressional map with one black majority district. That prompted a lawsuit and accusations that Louisiana violated the Voting Rights Act, since around 1/3 of Louisiana's voters are black, and Louisiana has 6 House seats. In 2024, the courts forced Louisiana to redraw the map, creating a second black majority district. But then another lawsuit emerged, this time from self-described non-African American voters who say race should not play so much of a role. At the core of this latest Supreme Court case is Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, which for decades has been viewed as legal and interpreted as requiring states with large minority populations to draw maps that represent their voting power. But do justices on this Supreme Court in 2025 agree? We're about to find out. Louisiana Attorney General Liz Murrill, a Republican, recently said this in a statement, quote, "Our Constitution sees neither black voters nor white voters. It sees only American voters." But others disagree. This brief, submitted by the ACLU, the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, and others, says although we are making progress towards the goal of an America where race is no longer relevant to opportunity, racial discrimination and racially polarized voting are not ancient history. The country's history is an important part of this case as well. President Lyndon Johnson signed the Voting Rights Act in the 1960s, while Martin Luther King Jr. and other civil rights leaders marched against the disenfranchisement of black voters. If the Supreme Court decides in future months to strike down parts of the Voting Rights Act, it could force the redrawing of maps in several states, especially in the South, potentially impacting the control of Congress in future years. Joe St. George, Scripps News Group, Washington.
On to your neighborhood news now. The city of Corpus Christi is investing more than $300,000 to bring a new playground to Oak Park on the city's west side. It will be complete with a shade structure, a playground, and accessible sidewalks. Nearby neighbors say the park used to be full of family gatherings, but that is not the case anymore. Some say they've been waiting years even to see upgrades at their neighborhood park.
We're all glad to hear that somebody is actually going to come out and do something and invest money in this neighborhood that seems to be going downhill.
And while they're excited about the promise of renovations, neighbors are still skeptical about when they'll actually see those improvements take shape.
Well, STRS number 2, which oversees Padre Island projects and developments, has approved a skate park for Village Park. The park is in the Padre Isles neighborhood. Now, money for the $700,000 project would be reallocated from the $6.6 million Sand Dollar Avenue project. The skateboard project now heads to the City Council for final approval. There's no timeline on when it could be approved, though.
Well, 6:16 a.m. A live look over here at Snoopy's Pier, thanks to Matthews CCAC. 73 degrees, winds pretty calm right now, and traffic flowing smoothly if there is any traffic out there on the bridge. At least our current dew points sitting around the 60s, 70 over there at the Naval Air Station right now. The rest of us in those 60s, 61 degree dew point in Beeville, 64 here in town, 69 up there in Rock Part near the coast as well. And of course, getting a good look at your neighborhood weather network powered by Tempest, of course. Focusing on some of those Beeville temperatures right now, coming in at 61 degrees right now is what our Tempest station there in Beeville is reporting. 64 over there on FM 504, of course, on the south side as well. Also dealing with a lot of those 60s here in Corpus Christi. 67 down there on Garden Court. Over on Wind Willow Drive, 69 degrees. So in the upper 60s there on the south side of town as well, with the entire area coming in those 60s, 70s a little bit closer to the coast. Planning out our Wednesday for us, 82 degrees by that 11 a.m. time frame. Winds roughly out of the northeast and east throughout today from that 5 to 10 mile an hour range, maybe peaking up with some gusts into about 15 miles an hour or so. Daytime highs should come in around those upper 80s, 90 degrees as well if you work your way just a little bit inland where they have slightly drier air, but mostly sunny skies definitely expected as we go through our Wednesday. And you can see that pretty well here on the Doppler radar. just nothing in terms of rain and not even much cloud cover out there right now across the entire coastal bend. So let's go on over to the future tracker and see if we can see anything today. Not looking too likely. Here's a look by that lunchtime hour where just sitting with those mostly sunny skies, and throughout the afternoon into the evening also going to be plenty of sunshine. Like I said, that daytime high about 90 degrees or so, maybe 89 here in Corpus Christi. But by tomorrow morning, here's a look at lunchtime again, 10, 11 a.m. and then into the lunchtime hour, even about 1 to 2 potentially as well. That's where we could see just a little bit of isolated activity trying to push in. Overall, doesn't look like a washout or too many downpours, but still a little bit of rain could be back into the area. And throughout the next 7 days, just sitting isolated at best. We do see a weak front on Sunday to wipe out some of that moisture before it resurges coming into Tuesday, but still sitting in those isolated chances for some rain working back into the coastal bend. Throughout the 7-day forecast, not too much rain on it right now. We have that slight chance tomorrow morning. Daytime highs, though, are more of the story from the 80s up into the 90s. That cold front as well on Sunday, if you want to call it that, really drops us with overnight lows from in those mid-70s back down to about 70 degrees.
Headed out of town soon? Don't pack your bags just yet. I'm Michaela Chavez, sharing one extra step that could turn your next trip from turning into a total loss.
Welcome back. Well, it is Wednesday. You know what that means, folks. We got to check in on those grocery prices. I have a list for you. Taking a look at some of the staples, and these are all prices per the retailer's website as of this morning, Wednesday morning. Let's start off with the price of a carton of eggs, shall we? So Target, third place, $2.39. Then Walmart at $2.34. H-E-B actually reduced their prices since last week. They are in the new winners on this category, $2.29 onto a loaf of bread. Not too much changes on this next one, but as you can see, H-E-B has actually come in clutch on this one as well. They reduced by about 5 cents since last week. Target at third place, $1.49. Second place at Walmart, $1.27. Like I said, H-E-B $1.20 on that one. Next up, a gallon of milk. Third place is Target at $2.69. Second place, H-E-B at $2.62. First place goes to Walmart in this category at $2.52 for a gallon of milk. Wrap things on up with some protein, shall we? Taking a look at a pound of ground beef. Target, we're still paying almost $7 for a pound. H-E-B a little bit better at $4.79 rather, and $4.44 is our winner for that ground beef dinner at Walmart. So as always, if you can find cheaper prices than these guys, maybe stop and throw them in your cart while you can. I'll have all these prices for you in case you forget, though, on our website. That's christv.com.
Well, taking a look out there at our USS Lexington Cam, thanks to First Community Bank, 66 degrees, 6:23 a.m. Traffic flowing nice and smooth there along the bridge, it looks like. So let's get a closer look at some of the roadways around the Corpus Christi area. Closer look at that Harbor Bridge traffic. Yes, good and green to and from Portland this morning, whether you're heading there or back. As we're looking here in Corpus Christi, Ocean Drive, no major slowdowns to report. Same goes for SPID as well as down south towards Saratoga and the Crosstown Expressway if you're heading into downtown. Of course, if you're working your way over towards the island or even at least just Flower Bluff, that Waldron Road slowdown has since gotten a little bit better. You see, we're still dealing with a little bit of a minor slowdown there, so keep that in your mind. Of course, by the Naval Air Station, those normal slowdowns by the gate there, of course, too. And some of those drive times around the area, 22 minutes from downtown to the island, 8 minutes from Portland to downtown, Cal Island to downtown, sitting around 15 minutes right now. All three looking good and green wherever you're going to, wherever you're coming from. That's going to be all for your traffic report, but don't go anywhere. We've got more news and weather heading your way.
A second chance. I'm Alyssa Trevino, taking a look at the new community park coming to Alice. I'll tell you how it's being funded and what this means to this community.
Now, weather on the 6s.
Taking a look out there at our Snoopy Sky Cam, thanks to Matthew CCAC, sitting around 66 degrees, 6:27 a.m. Traffic flowing nice and smooth there along the bridge, heading towards the island. Of course, getting a good look out there at some of our currents right now. The current winds, at least, are pretty calm around most of the region. Temperatures sitting also in those 60s and 70s for us. Here's a look at those winds. You can see roughly out of the east, northeast, and the north. That's going to shift to about the east and even the southeast as we go through the day ahead. Overall, still not going to be too windy, though. The windiest right now, 6 miles an hour out there at Corpus Christi, at least the international airport. So that's what we're sitting at. Dew point wise in the 60s for most of us, a couple 70s there. 70 there at Naval Air Station Corpus Christi, 66 for Port Aransas, almost 70 for Rockport, 64 here in town in the dry spot. Beeville coming in at about 61 degrees for that dew point. So we see the 60s. We might think there's some moisture, maybe some rain coming today. Here's a look at what those rain chances look like over the next 24 hours, and you can see very unlikely at best. But as we go into tomorrow morning, if I step out of the way just a little bit, you can see where those chances start to peak just a little bit, at least into the stray and isolated chance heading into tomorrow morning. So that's really what I've got my eyes on, is as we head into tomorrow morning, maybe we'll get a little bit more rain, similar to what we saw yesterday. For the current Doppler radar, nothing on the board right now, but that future tracker going to show you how tomorrow is really more of the story today, lunchtime. Plenty of sunshine, looking like a great Wednesday across the entire coastal bend. Tomorrow morning, the weak disturbance works in from the Gulf. That's where we see that moisture working in, just get enough lift back into the atmosphere. And then we see some isolated activity really taking shape by about that 9, 10, 11 a.m. time frame. And that's going to hold with us through about 1 to 3 p.m. or so, maybe even 4. You could see just barely holding on out there before things start to clear up just a little bit going into tomorrow night. So if you're still trying to plan out for your Wednesday, here's what we can expect. Temperatures pushing into 79 degrees by 10 a.m., 84 there as we're heading towards that lunchtime hour. Winds also pick up from about 5 to 10 miles an hour as we're heading towards lunch in through the afternoon and towards the evening. That daytime high pushing you towards about 89 degrees by 4 p.m. is my forecast. Winds also top out about 13, 14 miles an hour. Can't rule out any gusts pushing upwards of 20 miles an hour at times. But then, of course, we start that nightly cool down, pushing back into the 70s by the time we're heading into about that 8 p.m. time frame or so. Here's a look at those rain chances over the next 7 days. We do see some isolated chances on there, so it's not going to be anything too widespread throughout these next few days. And right now, models are looking at Friday. I've still got my eyes on the weekend. Like we said, not a washout, not going to be widespread or big totals out there, but we're going to take every bit we can get because, as we know, 9.9 inches shy of where we should be for this time of year. We surely could use it, and that drought monitor is looking like it as well. That moderate drought a week ago sitting around Corpus Christi holds in place this week. We'll see that latest update going into tomorrow, of course, but we definitely could use the rain across all of South Texas. Here's a look at that 7-day forecast. Rain chances not completely on the board right now. Daytime highs go from those 80s to those 90s. Then this weak front on Sunday could give us the lift we need for a little bit of rain. I don't have it there right now, but overall, overnight low is going to drop from those 70s into maybe the 60s as we head into next week.
Alrighty, Stephen, thank you so much. So combat wounded veterans are pushing back against what they call a broken system. Coming up on Sunrise, what's at stake and how you can help.
This is Veterans in Focus, sponsored by the Heil Law Firm, battling for justice, winning for the community.
Answer this, folks. If someone gets shot or even loses a limb in combat to protect our country, do they deserve a break on their property taxes? Well, for this week's Veterans in Focus, Military Order of the Purple Heart, Chapter 598, wants to hear what you think as they push to change state law.
We're just trying to bridge that gap.
Members of Military Order of the Purple Heart, Chapter 598, know the cost of war all too well.
We spent 11 months, 10 days in the jungles.
And they're using that experience to fight for others who have also paid the price, like Stephen Pierce, the retired lieutenant colonel for the U.S. Army Infantry, served as a platoon leader during the Iraq War.
I mean, landed right in the thick of it. I was actually injured as well. So I got a gunshot wound that put a lot of shrapnel up the left side of my body, and my knee, and my shoulder, and my elbow, and my face.
His Purple Heart is more than a medal. It's a symbol of sacrifice and a tribute to those who never came home.
I lost a soldier in the same fight that I was in, so I kind of wear the Purple Heart as kind of a badge of honor to honor him.
And now he and other members of the group are pushing to support those who came home wounded but alive.
Any veteran who served our country deserves the right to get their benefit.
They tell me they're working on reviving a bill that would give full property tax exemptions to combat wounded veterans regardless of their VA disability rating.
We're talking about people who legitimately shed blood due to an armed enemy of the United States.
Back in 2017, House Bill 1591 was introduced in Texas, but never made it across the finish line.
What we're trying to do is trying to make this a new priority, and it is picking up steam. And so if it becomes a priority for Texans, it'll become a priority for our legislators.
Right now, only Texas veterans with a 100% disability rating qualify for a full property tax exemption. Those rated lower do receive some relief, but still face hefty property tax bills.
There's a difference between somebody who has 100% disability because they have ailments versus somebody who has injuries. And sometimes the injuries do not equate to 100%.
And even though the Purple Heart recipients I spoke with do qualify for full exemptions, they say they're fighting for those who don't.
I personally know veterans missing a limb and only rated at 70%. A disproportionate amount of our Vietnam veterans who were drafted to go to war, and because they went there, shed blood for our country, and came back with Purple Hearts, not paperwork, they fall underneath that 100%.
So here's the deal. Military Order of the Purple Heart, Chapter 598, is calling on state lawmakers to act. And folks, whether you agree or not, they want to hear from you. The group created a survey to gather public input with plans to send the results to lawmakers ahead of the 2027 state legislative session. Now, they hope to gather all the feedback by the end of this year. For more information, visit our website, christv.com.
Well, 6:36 a.m. getting a good look at our USS Lexington camp thanks to First Community Bank. 66 degrees. The Harbor Bridge looking nice this morning with traffic flowing nice and smooth along it as well. Of course, a good look at your neighborhoods across the coastal bend. 64 is the cool spot in Beeville right now. 73 over there at the Naval Air Station Corpus Christi. 75 the hot spot in Port Aransas. Plenty of 60s on the boards. Winds out of the north-northwest and fairly calm, about 5 miles an hour, and visibility not looking too bad either, just 4 miles there in Kingsville to watch out for, but should clear up as we're going through the morning hours. Planning out your Wednesday for you, 86 degrees by 2 p.m. 6 p.m. coming in at 83 degrees, and winds topping out also in the about 13-14 miles an hour there out of the east-southeast 4 p.m. or so, with that daytime high pushing 89 degrees. So shaping up for a pretty nice Wednesday. Rain-wise, unfortunately, not looking too likely. You can see it sitting in the unlikely category pretty much all day, starting to peak as we head into tomorrow morning. That's where we could see a little bit more rain working back in. So don't go anywhere. I'll talk more about those rain chances in that full 7-day forecast coming up in just a bit.
Now, 20 minutes of non-stop news, sponsored by Ewald Kubota.
Hey, welcome back, folks. Thank you so much for joining us for our 20 minutes of non-stop news with the Hoffmans. I'm Brian Hoffman.
And I'm Michelle Hoffman. Of course, folks, we have plenty of neighborhood news for you this morning. But first, let's check in with meteorologist Stephen Jones. He has a look at your roadways before you head out the door. Good morning, Stephen.
Morning.
Oh, good morning, Brian and Michelle. Pretty good out there today.
Yeah.
What's on the menu for breakfast? I got to ask first real quick.
Ooh, I'm thinking Hester's today.
Oh, that's a
They have
that's
the
a pretty
best
good
coffee.
one. I'm not sure where I'll go yet. Might do some Chick-fil-A or something. I don't know. We'll see. But first, of course, we got to check those roadways. Let everybody know what's going on out there. Looking pretty smooth on SPID, on our SPID Skycam right now. At least 66 degrees out there. 6:41 a.m. The roadways not looking too bad as of yet. At least we'll see it pick up throughout the day. But getting a good look at some of those roadways right now, at least in depth at the Harbor Bridge to and from Portland. Good and green both ways, whichever way you're heading this morning. Looking at our major roadways here in Corpus Christi, not too much to report on right now. Ocean Drive looking good, as well as SPID for the most part, and Saratoga down there. Even if you're taking the Crosstown Expressway, all good and green if you're heading into town right now. If you're working your way over towards the island, or at least towards the Flower Bluff area, this is where we're looking at right now. Waldron Road dealing with a minor slowdown there. At least we're not seeing super slow or that red on the map. Mostly green to some of that yellow. Also on Flower Bluff Drive and near the Naval Air Station, that's where we normally see it this time of morning. Some of those drive times around the area also sitting pretty good as we're looking out there. Sitting at about 22 minutes for downtown to the island, 8 minutes Portland to downtown. Cal Allen downtown sitting around 15 minutes right now. So wherever you're coming from, wherever you're going to, looking good and green as you're heading out the door. But don't go anywhere. We've got more news and weather heading your way.
Thank you, Stephen. We're going to check back in with you in just a little bit there, sir. But for now, folks, don't go anywhere. We have plenty of neighborhood news to get to this morning.
Yeah, from tensions high at Tuesday's city commissioners meeting in Kingsville to a Corpus Christi woman facing over 20 charges in alleged elder exploitation. We have you covered in your neighborhood check-in.
It was a full house at Tuesday's Kingsville City Commission, with neighbors in attendance to see and speak on the future of interim city manager Charlie Sosa. Some gave praise, while others brought up concerns. Chris 6 News has done numerous reports regarding Charlie Sosa. Just as he was going to be appointed in September, concerns came up for dumping limestone on property in 2016. With his future in the balance, city commissioners had one job left: to vote. With a 3-2 vote by the commissioners, the item to rescind his contract offer was denied, which led to discussions about executing his employment contract. In another 3-2 vote, the decision, leaving Commissioner Edna Lopez with doubts of the commission going forward.
I truly believe that what was done here is not to the best of the city, and Kingsville has a problem.
As Chris 6 News reported, a lawsuit filed by Kingsville neighbor Selena Tijerina asked for a recall election to remove city commissioners Norma Nelda Alvarez, Leo Alarcón, and Hector Hinojosa. A court hearing was held Tuesday to determine if that petition was valid. City leaders were called to testify as witnesses, such as the city mayor, the secretary, and 2 commissioners that are in the lawsuit. After hearing testimony from both sides, Judge Polcher ruled that the recall election can proceed. The attorney for the city and the 3 commissioners, Gilberto Hinojosa, told Chris 6 News they will appeal the ruling. Additionally, he stayed firm that the recall petition was not filed in time and where he thinks the judge made a mistake. They have 10 days to file that appeal.
10 charges of credit and debit card abuse, 3 charges of exploitation of a child, elderly, or disabled person are among the 18 new charges putting Marema Montano back in custody. When we first reported on Montano, she was accused of stealing over $26,000 from 2 patients at group homes she operated. Now, indictments obtained by Chris 6 News say Montano allegedly exploited 5 elderly individuals between November 2019 and February of this year. I thought it was important to understand the warning signs for older residents.
Exploitation of the elderly is one of the least reported offenses. If you suspect that somebody is being exploited, let us know about it. We can't begin to help somebody unless we know that they need that help to begin with.
I'm Melissa Trevino, your neighborhood news reporter in Alice. For the last decade, this property behind me was abandoned. Now, city leaders hope to breathe new life into the south side with the $400,000 park. The funds will come from the hotel occupancy fund instead of the taxpayer's pocket, says Alice City Manager Michael Esparza. The park will look similar to the Anderson Park on the north side of Alice. Esparza tells Chris 6 News the field at the back of the property had already been used for sporting activities like flag football and soccer, which brought so many people into Alice. City officials tell me they're already seeing people utilize the park. City leaders have more to do, but so far workers have added lights, a playground, along with courts for pickleball and basketball.
Well, 6:46 a.m. live look over here at Snoopy's Pier. Thanks to Matthew CCAC. Sitting around 73 degrees, traffic flowing nice and smooth there along the bridge. And you can see some early boaters out on the water this morning as we're heading towards 7 a.m. Getting a live look in your neighborhood as well. 64 degrees, the cool spot in Beeville right now. A couple of 70s also out there, especially along the coast. 73 over at the Naval Air Station. 74 going to be the warm spot in Port Aransas right now. Sitting in the 60s for most of us. Winds out of the northwest 5 miles an hour and also calm out there. Visibility's not too bad. Kingsville sitting at 4 miles, so keep that in mind, but the rest of us coming in at 7 miles or above, so not too bad this morning. So might be thinking it's a good day to take the pup out for a walk. We've got Zoe here in the car ready to go to one of our parks around Corpus Christi, going for a wonderful walk. How are those temperatures going to be shaping up? Well, we're entering the 70s and 80s as we go through 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., 70s, 11 a.m. entering those 80s, and by the lunchtime hour, that's where we see those mid 80s make their return. Winds go from the north to the east about 5 miles an hour this morning, about 10 miles an hour as we go to lunchtime, and then topping out this afternoon around 14 miles an hour. So that current look at the Doppler radar showing you clear skies across the coastal bend, including here in Corpus Christi in terms of that precipitation as well as cloud cover this morning. Whenever we go into the future cast, we're going to see how more rain could move in. But first, I want to take a look at our big weather picture, why we're not seeing that rain around today. You can see the high pressure really sitting over the state of Texas, at least the entire Lone Star State, not going to be seeing too much rain outside of the Big Bend area and far west Texas. So this high pressure really going to be pushing down on our rain chances as well as we're heading through the day ahead. So not looking too promising whenever we're thinking about those rain chances. In terms of the Muggy meter, bouncing around a little bit in those 60s, topping out into the 70s at times. Cold fronts bringing right back down to the 60-degree mark. So you see how we go through the muggy, humid, very humid. At least it's not the oppressive air you can wear, but by that Sunday time frame, that's where we see a decent cold front drop it even into the 50s, dipping its toes into that dry air, but quickly seeing a return flow, bringing moisture back into the area by that Tuesday time frame. So that's what we're watching for. Unfortunately, doesn't seem to have a big effect on our temperatures as we see this cold front working its way in. Rain chances wise might bring us a little bit of lift. You can see by Friday into Saturday and Sunday sitting with those isolated chances thanks to that disturbance working into the area, or at least closer to the area, knocking on our doorstep. Dries us out before we see that return flow come back into place. That's going to bring those isolated chances of rain back into the area. Of course, drought monitor from last week showing you moderate drought around Corpus Christi, and abnormally dry conditions have since persisted into this week as well, with that moderate drought around Corpus Christi and a little bit of an expansion of those abnormally dry conditions. So we definitely need the rain into the area, not in the 7-day forecast right now, but don't go anywhere. We'll talk about those rain chances and that 7-day forecast coming up in just a bit.
Whether you're headed to the beach, the mountains, or overseas, there's one thing you don't want to forget before your next trip: travel insurance. I'm Michaela Chavez, your Sunrise Neighborhood News reporter, showing you how it could help you in the long run. Shauna McGallion and her husband love traveling.
So we prefer to go where there's water. It could be river, lake, ocean.
But one trip from Corpus Christi to Seattle changed everything.
What could go wrong?
A snowstorm in Denver caused them to miss their connecting flight, and they didn't have travel insurance.
We did not have travel insurance at that time. I opted out because I was like, oh, this is an easy flight.
Now she's a travel agent with one rule: no booking without travel insurance.
You have to have it, because I can give you a lot of nightmares that have happened.
So what exactly is travel insurance? It's an add-on cost that covers the basics: medical care, lost luggage, missed flights, and weather delays.
Even if your hotel, flight, stuff like that is non-refundable, your travel insurance will refund you for those things.
Think of it like protection for your vacation investment.
It's like car insurance. It may not happen, but you have that layer of protection in case something does.
McGallion says buy it when you book. Waiting could leave you uncovered. And the cost? Usually just 5 to 10% of your trip total. For short, direct flights, like from Corpus Christi to Houston, you can probably skip it.
If something happens, you're still only like 4 hours from home.
But for longer trips, it's peace of mind.
There's so much to see with the United States, and there's so much to see outside the United States. Have fun, experience the world.
And remember, basic travel insurance does not cover a change of mind. There has to be a real reason, like illness, bad weather, or an emergency for that coverage to kick in. In downtown, I'm your Sunrise Neighborhood News reporter Michaela Chavez, Chris 6 News.
Now, 6 things to know before you go.
The U.S. Supreme Court is set to listen to oral arguments today over congressional redistricting. The court case focuses on Louisiana's new congressional maps. The case could have lasting impacts on the Voting Rights Act. The state has asked the nation's highest court to rule on whether it's constitutional to gerrymander congressional maps based on race. A ruling in the state's favor could allow it and other Republican-led states in the South to draw new maps that eliminate virtually all majority black districts, which have been Democratic strongholds.
Authorities in Tennessee are expected to hold another press conference this afternoon to update the public on a deadly blast at a military explosives plant. On Monday, law enforcement identified the 16 people who were killed. They include 10 men and 6 women. Authorities are still working to determine the cause of the explosion and said the clues that could help them determine what happened are spread out over miles as a result of the blast. The community surrounding the plant has held candlelight vigils to honor the lives that were lost.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says that Coast Guard members will get paid during the government shutdown. According to Secretary, the DHS has found a, quote, innovative solution to provide the money. The announcement comes 2 days after President Trump said that he would direct Defense Department to pay military members on October 15th. The White House Office of Management and Budget has confirmed that it plans to use research and development funds to deliver paychecks to military service members this week.
A video from Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem blaming Democrats for the federal shutdown is ready to roll out at TSA security checkpoints. But several major U.S. airports are refusing to play it. In the video, Noem says in part, quote, Democrats in Congress refuse to fund the federal government, and because of this, many of our operations are impacted, and most of our TSA employees are working without pay, end quote. Corpus Christi International Airport and San Antonio International Airport are refusing to play the video. It's not clear yet if any U.S. airport has agreed to display Noem's video message.
Well, City Council approved the first reading of a 40-year lease agreement with the Texan store to build and operate a facility at CCIA. It would occupy 8 acres along Highway 44 Interstate Drive and offer 196 parking spaces, 28 fuel stations, 4 diesel lanes for large trucks, and more food options. A second reading will be held on November 11th. Construction is expected to take about 8 months after permits are issued.
TERS 2, which oversees Padre Island projects and developments, has approved a skate park for Billish Park. The park is in the Padre Isles neighborhood. Money for the $700,000 project would be reallocated from the $6.6 million Sand Dollar Avenue project. The skateboard project now heads to the City Council for final approval. There's no timeline on when it could be approved.
All right, folks, on to what's trending. Halloween is right around the corner. Are you ready for it? And according to a recent survey, Americans are planning to spend big on costumes.
Yeah, and we've got the top costumes that kids and adults are going for. The National Retail Federation's annual consumer survey says $4.3 billion will be spent on costumes, and nearly 3/4 of Americans who plan to celebrate Halloween will dress up. The survey finds 2.3 million will dress up as a comic book hero. Princess, witch, and ghost costumes are the next popular.
And the most favored dress-up characters for adults this Halloween are expected to be a witch, a vampire, and a pirate, matey. Many people are including their pets in the costume fun, with the most popular, a pumpkin. Are we gonna dress up our doggos this year?
We had a Yoda costume for one of our doggos.
For Piper, yeah.
My fluffy dog Panda, he's so big, so it's really hard to find something that will actually fit him. But we got to dress him up as a panda today.
Yeah, we do. We still got to pick out our costumes too. We haven't done that yet.
So
We're a little late.
expensive.
Yeah, hey, we can make our own though. Like I did print out this super cool devil's mask with horns and whatnot. It looks awesome. It cost me like $1 to print out, which
with
was
a 3D
terrific.
printer.
Are you going to be dressing up at all for
I was planning on a vampire, but hearing about the superheroes being popular for the kids, that's a good idea too. Who's your favorite superhero, you guys?
Ooh.
Sorry, I know that's on the spot.
Probably either Wolverine or Deadpool.
Oh, that's a good one. I'm a good old Captain America fan myself. I think I like me some Marvel too. But
Girl power, Wonder Woman.
Yeah, no, Wonder Woman's another good one, of course. I mean, those are all good options for Halloween too, of course. But we should get into the weather today, what we're going to be expecting, of course, for our Wednesday. Waking up out there. Good morning, Coastal Bend, of course, 6:56 a.m. A live look at our USS Lexington can, thanks to First Community Bank. 64 degrees out there and 70s around some of the other Coastal Bend neighborhoods. Of course, the past 10 hours have seen a decent cool down from 78 at 8 p.m. last night, 67 by 2 a.m. this morning, holding on to about 64 degrees right now. So that's about 13 degrees of spread since last night. Decent cool down, and then we're going to warm right back up as we go into this afternoon today. For current temperatures sitting on the 70s along the coast, 74 for Port Aransas and 73 at the Naval Air Station. 64 up in Beeville and in town is going to be the cool spot right now, with plenty of 60s for some of our inland communities this morning. As we're looking at the next 6 to 10 days, though, likely warmer conditions going to persist for us here in the Coastal Bend. You can see the entire eastern half of the United States likely going to be above average, including the Lone Star State, and yes, the Coastal Bend as well. If you're in the Rocky Mountains or west, that's where we see that cooler conditions really starting to persist, but unfortunately those fronts just don't look strong enough quite yet to really be pushing into our area. For the forecast high temperatures, that's exactly what we're seeing, above average temperatures. Before we get to maybe the end of next week, that's where we could be close to that 85 degree mark at about that 10-day mark. but that's, a lot of time. Things could change by 10 days. So going to keep my eyes on that and hope for more rain chances to drive this down as well. For now, sitting pretty good and above average as we head through the next 10 days. Rain chance wise, not looking too great, but we are going to be likely wetter than average, pushing into the coastal bend and really the entire Gulf Coast of Texas. Those drier conditions going to persist for Arizona into New Mexico. So hopefully this does mean we'll see more rain working into the region by next week, because right now the 7-day forecast not too promising on the rainfall front. Current Doppler radar showing you clear skies across the coastal bend. Future tracker going to show you how we go into tomorrow. That's where we're going to see the rain trying to push in as we go tomorrow morning and into that lunchtime hour, where we really see the rain just kind of what we saw yesterday, the isolated activity pushing in by 11 a.m. or so. And then as we go through the rest of the week, not dealing with too much rain on the board, just daytime highs pushing up from the 80s into the 90s. That week front on Sunday drops us overnight lows from 74 to 70 degrees. But other than that, can you really call that a cold front dropping from 92 to 91 daytime highs?
No. Not where we came from, at least.
No, oh man, their feet of snow over there. This is crazy. Anyway, loving the weather here, and we're loving that you joined us. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you later.
Bye.